All right. Hello, boys and girls in fifth grade. We are going to begin the next chapter in Esperanza Rising. I'm not reading the whole chapter to you. You should have that book in your hand by now. You're capable of reading this on your own. We're going to read the first few pages of Las Cebolas, which means onions, and then it's going to be your responsibility to read the remainder of the chapter yourself. Now, that's going to be the way it is from now till we finish the book. I'm going to read the first couple of pages with you, and then I'm leaving you on your own to finish the chapter, and then to do the schoolwork that goes along with it in your packet. Okay? All right, guys, so let's get started. Now, let's remember back where we were. Remember, Esperanza had gotten in the truck with her family, and they were headed to the place where they were going to begin working as farm workers. Marta, the little girl that climbed aboard, got to kind of feel them in a little bit on what to expect and told them there were some places that were good, some places that were not good. Explained to them that how the places were segregated by race or culture, depending on if they were from Oklahoma or if they were Mexican or Asian. They were all separated because they didn't want them all getting together because then they would unionize and demand better working conditions. "We're here," said Isabel as the truck turned into camp and slowed to a crawl. Esperanza stood up and looked over the cab. They were in a large clearing surrounded by grape fields. Row upon row of white wooden cabins formed long lines, connected like bunkhouses. Each cabin had one small window and two wooden steps that led to the door. She couldn't help but think they weren't even as nice as the servants' cabins in Aguascalientes. They reminded Esperanza more of the horse stalls on the ranch than the place for people to live. A big mountain loomed in the east, framing one side of the valley. Martha jumped out and ran towards some girls standing together near the cabins. Esperanza could hear them talking in English, the words hard and clipped as if they were speaking with sticks in their mouths. They all looked at her and laughed. She turned away, thinking that if Isabel could learn English, then maybe someday she could learn it too. And that's been a real trial for some of you boys and girls, hasn't it? That you grew up speaking a different language and you've had to learn to speak English at school, haven't you? That can be difficult. A line of flatbed trucks pulled into a clearing and campesinos hopped down home from the fields. People called to one another. Children ran to their fathers, yelling, "Papi, papi." Esperanza felt a deep pang. She watched and wondered how she would fit into this world. Isabel pointed to a wooden building off to the side. "That's where they have all the toilets." Esperanza cringed as she tried to imagine having no privacy. "We're lucky," said Isabel solemnly. "In some camps we had to go in ditches." Ugh. Esperanza looked down at her, swallowed and nodded, suddenly thankful for something. A foreman came over and shook hands with Juan and Alfonso and pointed to the cabin in front of the truck. The women got out, took the babies, and helped Miguel with the bags. Mama and Esperanza walked into the cabin. It had two small rooms. One half of the front room was the kitchen with a stove, sink, and counter, and a table and chairs. A pile of wood waited near the stove. Across the room was a mattress on the floor. The back room had another mattress big enough for two people and a tiny cot. In between sat a wooden fruit crate to be used as a night table, its sides touching each bed. Above was another small window. Mama looked around and then gave Esperanza a weak smile. "Is this our cabin or Hortensia's and Alfonso's?" asked Esperanza, hoping that her and Mama's might be better. "We are all together in this cabin," said Mama. "Mama, we can't possibly all fit." "Esperanza, they will only give one cabin for each man with a family. There is no housing for single women. This is a family camp, so we must have a male head of household to live and work here, and that is Alfonso." Mama sank to the bed. Her voice sounded tired. "He has told them we are his cousins, and if anyone asks us, we must say it's true. Otherwise we cannot stay." We are next door to Juan and Josefina, so we can adjust the sleeping arrangements. Miguel will sleep next door with them and the babies, and Isabel will sleep here with Alfonso, Hortensia, and us. Excuse me. Sorry. Miguel came in and sat down their valises, then left. Esperanza could hear Alfonso and Hortensia in the next room talking about the camp office. Mama got up to unpack and began to sing. Esperanza felt anger crawling up her throat. Mama, we are living like horses. How can you sing? How can you be happy? We don't even have a room to call our own. The talking suddenly stopped in the other room. Mama gave Esperanza a long, hard look. She calmly walked over and shut the door to the small room. Sit down, she said. Esperanza sat on the tiny cot, its springs screeching. Mama sat on the bed opposite her, their knees almost touching. Esperanza, if we had stayed in Mexico and I had married Tio Luis, we would have had one choice, to be apart and miserable. Here we have two choices, to be together and miserable, or to be together and happy. Mija, we have each other, and Abuelita will come. How would she want you to behave? I chose to be happy, so which will you choose? She knew what Mama wanted to hear. She said quietly. She knew what Mama wanted to hear. Happy, she said quietly. Do you know how lucky we are, Esperanza? Many people come to this valley and wait months for a job. Juan went to a lot of trouble to make sure we had this cabin waiting for us when we got here. Please be grateful for the favors bestowed upon us. Mama bent over and kissed her, then left the room. Esperanza lay down on the cot. A few minutes later, Isabel came in and sat on the bed. Will you tell me what it was like to be so very rich? She looked at Isabel, her eyes anticipating some wonderful story. Esperanza was quiet for a moment, clinging to one possible thought. Then she said, I am still rich, Isabel. We will only be here until Abuelita is well enough to travel. Then she will come with her money, and we will buy a big house, a house that Papa would have been proud for us to live in. Maybe we will buy 2 houses so that Hortensia, Alfonso, and Miguel can live in one and work for us again. And you can visit us, Isabel. You see, this is only temporary. We will not be here for long. ¿De veras? Asked Isabel. Yes, it is the truth, said Esperanza, staring at the ceiling that someone had covered with newspaper and cardboard. My papa would never have wanted us to live in a place like this. She closed her eyes and heard Isabel tiptoe out of the room and shut the door. The weariness from the days of travel flooded over her, and her mind wandered from people peeing in ditches to Marta's rudeness to the horse stalls at El Rancho de las Rosas. How could she be happy or grateful when she had never been more miserable in her life? Okay, so Miss Simpson's going to stop right there. You guys are going to finish the last few pages of this chapter. Work on your packet as you go. Do a little bit at a time every day. Remember, a little bit at a time as you go. Tomorrow we will start on the next chapter, so this is your responsibility. Remember, if you don't have a book, all you have to do is text me your address and I will bring you a book. I'm delivering books again on Friday morning. You can text me at 979-557-2212. Okay, text me your address. I'll bring you a book, but you should have one by now, right? Because this is our 3rd week of reading this book. All right, guys, until next time, take good care of yourself, take good care of one another, and I will see you tomorrow.